Hi there, it's Giovanna Casey with New Jump Spot. This is part 3 of a regression video. So you've been thinking about what signals tell you you are regressed. What we're going to do next is a technique I teach therapists, I teach clients, and it makes a huge difference in your life to give you better relationships. When you're regressed and you're trying to deal with business, family, friends, partners, you will always have some kind of boundaries mix-up because a child is activated and a child is trying to express and a child is trying to get child needs met. So I'm going to tell you now the inner parenting technique. You've already looked at your signals when you regressed. You understand about parent, adult, child. So let's fix it. So you might imagine a situation where you think you may have been regressed. You felt really agitated, you felt very hostile, you felt scared, you felt triggered. The very first step in this technique is simply to notice the signals. That's why I want you to spend some time writing down signals that you're regressed. And I want you to write it down. I will just tell you, after years of experience, if you write it down instead of just keeping it in your head, you're going to have much better results with this. So you've written down signals you're regressed. So step 1 is simply to notice the signals. So for me, it might be rethinking a situation that went on and kind of regurgitating it in my mind again, afraid someone's mad at me. I know for me that's a signal I'm regressed. So step 1 is simply to notice the signals. Step 2 is to say to yourself, oh, I'm regressed. That's it. Here's what happens when you do this, though. This is very interesting. The minute you acknowledge the signals, since this is information, right? This is data, it re-stimulates the adult part of you. You're actually doing a treatment on yourself from regression, and you're starting to let a little energy get back in your adult. That's cool. Then you ask yourself the following question. The next step is to ask yourself, how old is she? Or how old is he? How old is that part of me that is regressed? And you drop the question in your heart and just be quiet. This is not a mental exercise. It's just a deep drop the question in your heart and be quiet and listen. Be very sure you say to yourself, how old is she? Do not say, how old am I? In therapy, when we want to help you regress even more for a particular therapeutic purpose, and there is a reason when we want to do this, we will say, how old are you? And someone will say, oh, I am 5 years old. Well, obviously they're not 5 years old. They're 38 years old, feeling like they're 5. And we're trying to further regress someone for a particular treatment method. We don't want you to do that. Why? Because you're already regressed. And it's creating a mess, okay? So you drop the question in and you say, how old is she? How old is that part of me that is triggered right now? How old is that part of me ravenously eating the second half of the chocolate cake that was on the counter? How old is that part of me that's calling my boyfriend for the 6th time tonight, even though I know it drives him crazy? How old is that part of me that's checking the emails 20 times today? Just saying. So drop the question in, and about 80% of the time, give or take, an age will actually bubble up, okay? And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. And you don't need to analyze it, just go with it. And it's most often, it will be an age usually younger than 18. And a lot of these things around abandonment issues or neediness or emptiness, those are often really young ages. Like I know for me, when I have had signals that I'm regressed that are more about an empty yearning type feeling, for me that has been an infant level. I know for me, when I've gotten really agitated about my partner not taking care of his finances, I know for me that was a 12, 13-year-old part of me, because that is in my history when my dad had a stroke and all our finances changed overnight. And there was a lot of fear and insecurity for about a year. And this is going to happen with you, by the way. You're going to start noticing a couple ages that repeat, because you're not going to have 20 different ages come up. I guarantee it. There'll be a few key ages, okay? So let the number bubble up and get, how old is he? How old is this part with this reaction, this emotion, this body sensation? And here's what happens. The minute you ask that question, it pulls more energy back up into the adult because you're asking more adult data information. So you have already started changing that regressed child dynamic. The next step is to do parenting. And parenting has two parts. It's going to be nurture and structure. So let's say I got 3 years old, came up, okay? And so I went, oh, I'm regressed. How old is she? 3 years old-ish, bubbled up. Okay, I've activated up to here. The next thing to do is picture yourself, wise man, wise woman, grown-up person, with your child sitting right next to you. Maybe next to you, maybe on your lap, so maybe that little 3-year-old right there. Separate. The point here is to separate out that part so that part can get some reconnection, healing, and boundaries. You know me, I'm all about boundaries. So the first step then is you're with this younger age part and to give nurturing. Parenting is nurture and structure. And it's simply to love that part. Do it with all of your heart, with words, looking in her eyes, sinking in, and just letting her know, darling, I love you. I love you. I want you. I'm glad you're here. And you're with me. I love you. And often you will want to look in her eyes, radiate out your heart. Maybe she'll let you stroke her hair. Now, for some of you, this might seem really strange, like, this is weird. This is play acting. I'm just saying, it works. So hold her, nurture her, radiate out the love, and keep that definite separation in terms of it's not you, it's her. And you can feel the difference. And as you do this, the act of parenting that part of you with the nurturing love stimulates your partner, part of your parent part. So you see what you've done here. You're already starting to activate the whole self. Then, keeping that affectionate connection, you do the next step of parenting, which is structure. Well, structure is always information and boundaries. So it's very important. Oftentimes the information might be something like, darling, I love you, I care about you, and you're not allowed to go to the office and deal with my boss. I love you, you're wonderful, and you're not allowed to go to the office anymore. And it's not your job, and you don't need to do that. And I don't know about you, but for me and many people, there's this deep relaxation and realization because that young age part of you very likely had to take on a lot of responsibility at an early age, felt overwhelmed, was one smart cookie and kind of figured out how to start strategizing and maybe coming up with this semi-adult strategies. And she's constantly trying to kick in gear to take care of things because she, and you see how I'm saying she, I'm really purposely giving her her own identity. She doesn't know you are here. And when there's a trigger going on, some archaic trigger that hasn't been healed, she forgets you are here. So your job is to keep noticing her, recognizing her, loving her, and keep reminding her, you're here now. You weren't there when she was 8 years old and there was fighting going on in your house. You weren't. And so she needs that constant reminder. And also that very loving and yet firm boundaries. And you can read about all the boundary styles on the website. There's 6 healthy boundary styles and there's 6 that are terrible. But you're just very gently and firmly setting boundaries with her, right? Honey, I love you and care about you, and you don't get to call my boyfriend. Okay? I love you, care about you, and you don't get to decide what I eat. And she really needs the nurturing. For example, I'm bringing up the eating. That is a very common thing for many people. And what is needed is not more food in the body. It's she needs to be comforted and held and loved. And so many people actually make a practice of doing kind of an inner meditation or visualization of meeting with these young age parts and comforting them, loving them, playing with them, because there's two ways you can go about this, and you're probably going to do both, and I recommend you do both. One is noticing when this young age part is triggered and taking care of her, but the other is get used to going in and purposely closing your eyes and connecting with the part to give her some things she needs before she's flooded and feeling abandoned or starved for affection, like preventative medicine, right? And so this is the inner parenting. So once you do the nurturing and then the structuring fills out the rest, you actually have reactivated this whole system, and you've cleared this block, and you get this beautiful flow of energy. And we will talk more about this. You're going to find some more material on the website. We're going to have some other videos, but I want you to start with this for now. You can get some worksheets, start thinking about this, and we'll be giving some other examples so you can see how this plays out. But I will tell you, I've had people change how they pick partners, how they go on dates. I've even had semi-professional athletes, when they've learned about regression, their game totally changes. And they go like, oh my God, I had no idea how much my regressed little kid was out there trying to do the sports. And often when you are needing to change your relationship with someone and set boundaries and use a new relationship approach, which is the whole new jump spot philosophy, if you feel frozen, flooded, afraid, I guarantee you regress. And so I've had hundreds of people, when they know they need to use a new boundaries approach and they need to use a new strategy in a relationship, when they have felt uncomfortable, flooded, anxious, frozen, they do the inner parenting process, find out that young age part, comfort him or her, separate him or her out so they do not get to make the relationship decisions. And the report after doing this inner parenting process is this calmness, serenity, and so much easier to step forward and do the next thing you need to do in a relationship. Because this is really what I want for you. I want you to be able to live the life you want to live. And you will not be able to do that if you are getting flooded by this child energy and regressed. What you will do if this is happening is you're spending a lot of your time managing this energy and trying to deal with it. And believe me, you have things much more amazing and magnificent to do with your time here. And so I want you to learn this technique, practice it, and watch all the rest of the regression videos so you can have peace and freedom and be separate from this phenomena. And when it kicks in, I mean, you know, it just does once in a while. It's not going to be a mystery. It's not going to be overwhelming. You're going to know what's going on. And what do? Notice the signals. State to yourself, oh, I'm regressed. Drop the question inside, how old is he or she? And provide nurturing and structure. There's some other things I want you to know about this, but get practicing this now, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.